cut down your shade trees, it's killing your production. If you have shade trees near your solar array, it's really hurting production because shade is a killer for solar. Have to have sunlight, and really direct sunlight's the most powerful. So yeah, people love their trees and no one wants to cut them down. But you could save thousands of dollars if you cut down those trees and let your production produce at its highest point. If you knew how much shade trees were costing you, you'd cut them down immediately. Hi, I'm Joel Robinson, founder, builder, even a pilot in renewable energy in Montana. And I help people and businesses take back control of their energy, money, and future with renewable energy. Solar panels need light to produce electricity. It's just a fundamental concept that solar panels need light. So shade trees are one of the biggest enemies. If you like solar, are interested in solar, or think it could save you money, you're going to find a way to cut down those shade trees because it's just an absolute killer. It's one of the hardest stops in any proposal is a lot of shading. If your house is totally shaded by big shade trees and they're covering the roof, and that proposal isn't going to go real well. You can still do it. It'll still work, but the dollars aren't going to be there for the return. So the shade trees are usually helping keep the house a little bit cooler. I know my house had a lot of shade trees, and especially in the evening when the sun's setting, having that extra shade there can cool the house down quite a bit and keep the air conditioner from running as much. But if you got a lot of electricity, just run the air conditioner. Who cares, right? The shade trees need to be removed. So let's talk a little bit more about how exactly shading affects solar panels, because sometimes you just have one tree or maybe a couple trees and they shade in just a portion of the solar. Well, how does that affect overall production? Well, it affects solar in two different ways. And this is where a string inverter with no optimization versus microinverters and optimized strings really are different. Because if you have just one tree or maybe a chimney or something that casts a shadow, that shadow will affect those panels directly. You can see the shadow going across those solar panels right there. The difference between string inverter and the microinverter / optimize is that a string will, even though that one solar panel or a couple solar panels are shaded, it will affect the whole string. So every one of the panels that are in that sort of string are going to be affected versus a microinverter or an optimizer. Only those panels are underproduced while they're shaded. So it's a lot less of an impact on a microinverter system. So if you have any shading, definitely go with microinverters or even optimized strings. Those are considered as good, but don't go with straight string. Okay. And right now, Tesla is a straight string example, still with the rapid shutdown, and Enphase is microinverter, and SolarEdge is optimized. And those can overcome those individual shading events, chimney, tree, or something like that. But if your whole house is completely covered with trees, you're shaded all day long, then you can still do solar, but the dollars aren't going to be as good. So direct sunlight's the best. It produces the most. And even the angle is a big thing to understand. Say direct facing towards the sun, 180 degrees south, about 35 degrees or so where we're at. Should be the same as your latitude. But not everyone has a roof facing directly south at the correct angle. It's just, happen chance that you find a perfectly south facing roof. A lot of barns or outbuildings are really great because they've got that nice big open face and they produce really well. But even a house that has lots of different roof angles, dormers, overhangs, and they still work really well. It just takes some design, and there's a little added cost to install a lot of different arrays. So really want you to understand shading and how important it is. Yes, shading has an impact. There are ways to work around it, but I'm going to tell you, just cut it down. Find someone to cut down the tree, remove it, and the solar numbers will change dramatically. It is a huge impact. And the difference between a shaded roof and a non-shaded roof is significant. And what that turns into is more power production, which is more dollars. So that shade tree is directly impacting dollars. Now, this came up too that, well, it costs money to cut down shade tree. And I agree that it does cost money. How much? Well, in Montana, a lot of people have a chainsaw and they can run it themselves. There's not a lot of cost there. But if you're hiring a contractor, a professional contractor, it's going to cost money to cut down a tree and haul it away. So you do want to consider that on the return, right? That's probably part of the initial investment to get it. But I do want you to understand the difference that shade trees really matter. It really changes the production and really changes the numbers. So cut down those shade trees right away. Thanks. I'm Joel Robinson. Please subscribe to the channel or watch my other videos and learn more about how you can take advantage of solar to make money or just live your life better.